What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys just how easy it is to lower one of these D-Series pickups and an idea that I have to maybe get it just a little bit lower. So this is the project that kind of really got me thinking about starting this YouTube channel. I mean, when it comes to working on one of these D-Series pickups, there isn't really a whole lot of information out there. I mean, there's some good write-ups on things, and I'm starting to find more videos when it comes to these trucks. But when I first started working on this thing, I wasn't finding a whole lot. So this is the project that really got me thinking about doing YouTube. So let's start with the front. The easiest way to get about 2 inches of drop out of the front end of your D-Series pickup is to replace your lower control arms. And what you want is the lower control arm out of a late 70s, early 80s to about a 98-ish B-Series van. The reason is the spring pocket. So on a stock control arm, the D-Series spring pocket sits up here near the top of the control arm. With a B-Series van, the spring pocket is about 2 inches deeper. So by swapping out your lower control arm, it gives you 2 inches of drop. So all you gotta do is drop your stock lower control arm and install the one you got from a B-Series van, right? Yes and no. There are a few modifications that you do have to make. First, and this is actually the one, I actually pulled this one out of my truck. This is the one that I used in a video that I'll link to up here where I've already done this drop. So this is actually a B-Series van lower control arm, and I removed this from the truck for reasons that we'll go into here shortly. But there are a few modifications you got to make to your lower control arm. Firstly, I have another control arm here that I got from the pick-apart. The reason I got another set, we'll go into here shortly. But first you can see here, so there are these two holes because on a van, the strut rod and the sway bar goes on the front and the strut rod goes out the back. On a D-Series truck, they both connect on the front, so the bracket is different. So you need to drill 2 holes right here for your strut rod to attach to. The second mod you need to make is I had to notch this part out right here. And the reason being is because the strut, even though the strut rod bolts here, the sway bar bolts to the strut rod, or vice versa. I don't remember offhand. I'd have to look at the truck. Either way, one bolts to the other, and with that rod end, the bushing and everything would have contacted this flange. So you can just notch this out, make some clearance. The third mod is actually done on the truck side, and that has to do with the mounting bolt here on the back. On the control arm that comes off your truck, it uses a smaller bolt. The B-Series van uses a larger bolt. So you need to drill out those mounting holes on the truck to accommodate this larger bolt. And the fourth thing that I needed to do was I actually shaved this down right here. I kind of rounded this off. Here you can see on this one, it kind of flares out a little bit. And it seemed like when I was trying to put this in the truck originally, that if I drooped the lower control arm too far, this actually contacted the cross member. Now, would it affect it once it was all together? I don't know. It made it easier to assemble, and so I don't know if it's really necessary, but better safe than sorry. Oh, and there is a fifth one. There's actually like this stop right here up on top of the control arm that you just cut off. Here you can see I cut that one off right here. So why did I go to the pick-apart and get another set of B-Series lower control arms? Well, the ones that I installed however long ago, they work great. I really like the way the truck looks. It lowered, like I said, it lowered it about 2 inches in the front, and that gives me about 2.5 inches of tire clearance between the top of the tire and the bottom of the fender well. I'll post a picture here that I took. And that Looks really good. It rides really well. But just by swapping out the lower control arm, it doesn't mess with your steering geometry or your suspension or anything. It just gives you a deeper spring pocket, thereby lowering the front end. But the reason I got another set was because I want to do some work to the lower control arm, and I don't want to mess up the one that I have. This way, if it doesn't work out, or if I just don't like the way it looks, I can go back to what I had. So, my plan being, you can buy these lower control arms. You can find them online, about 120, 150 bucks a piece. Those normally come with the ball joints. About 250 bucks or so, 260, somewhere around there, you can have a brand new set of lower control arms. I was able to get this set from the pick apart for about 60 bucks. Now, I did have to buy new ball joints. They should be here later today. So once the ball joint comes in, I'll be able to put this one in the truck. Now, the reason I got this set, like I said, is because I don't want to mess up the set that I already have. I got to thinking about how I could possibly get another inch or so of drop out of that lower control arm. So I thought I could just take my spring, hack a little bit of the spring off, but you know, I didn't really want to go that route. I even mentioned that in the last video that I did about the suspension. By cutting the spring, you're going to change the spring rate. It can really affect the ride of the truck, and it is a truck, so it already doesn't ride great, but I didn't want to mess with the spring rate. So I really didn't want to cut the spring. So then I got, how else could I do this? Got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, why don't I find a way to extend the spring pocket even further? I mean, if just swapping the control arms out gave me 2 inches of drop without affecting anything, maybe I could modify the spring pocket. Makes sense. That's where this set comes in. So on this one, I cut the bottom of the spring pocket out. Now, once I did that, I had to find a way to extend it. So my thought was, all right, I could go and get a piece of 1-inch strapping. The control arms are about 3/16 of an inch thick, so I can go get some 1-inch strapping about the same thickness, and then try to bend it into a circle to extend that spring pocket down. But then I'd have to figure out how I'm going to bend that thing into a good circle. Probably have to get an oxyacetylene torch, which I don't have, in order to heat the metal to make it easier to bend. Then what am I going to do to form it? So then, trying to figure all that out, I started thinking, well, I could form it around like my welding bottle. That's about the right size. But then I got to thinking. So I contacted a local scrapyard, and I picked up an old oxygen bottle. I think I paid scrap price for that, so about 65, 68 cents a pound. So I paid about 16 bucks for an old bottle. Safety note, if you're gonna do this, try to find one that hopefully obviously, contained an inert gas, or one that has been empty for a long time. This one I found, actually the valve was open when I got it. Looked like it had been sitting for a while. So I got it home, and my first thought was, I'm gonna take the valve all the way apart, make sure it's fully open. So I did that. Obviously there was no gas in there. Then I thought, well, let me get the valve off, and that way if I need to, I can purge this, by filling it with water or something like that. Well, the valve wouldn't come off. So I just took a bandsaw and hacked off the top. Once that was done, I figured it was time to cut into this thing. I took my plasma cutter to it. And that just kind of solidified the fact that I need more practice with a plasma cutter. That turned out like trash. So I ended up cutting it with a cutoff wheel anyway. And then I cut, once I got a nice clean edge, measured up an inch, marked it, and cut it off with a cutoff wheel. And then I welded it in place and got me my 1 inch of drop. So that's where I'm at now. So I guess the next step would be to put this one in the truck and see how it looks. Oh, I need to still round the back of this off, and you see I marked the holes for the strut rod mount, and all I did was just made a template from this one that way. Mark the holes, transfer it over, and now I'll drill those holes out. And then once the ball joints are here, put it in a ball joint and slap this thing back in the truck. With the passenger side all buttoned up and all the clearances looking good, I can now start on the driver's side lower control arm. Once I got everything welded up, painted, and reassembly, just like on the passenger side, here's how it sits. Appreciate you guys for watching. Next will probably be the power steering gear and the strut rod and sway bar bushings. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.